Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 15, Episode number 35. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Monday, Steelers Nation, and what I think is the latest kickoff in Pittsburgh Steelers history, and probably the longest finish in Pittsburgh Steelers history, ends with maybe the longest loss in Pittsburgh Steelers history as they lose to the Dallas Cowboys 20-17 on Sunday night / Monday morning football in a game that was delayed over an hour due to severe weather. Pittsburgh now 3-2 on the season, and Dallas breaking Pittsburgh's heart by scoring with about 20 seconds left to take the lead. So, Dave, I mean, we haven't really gone back to rewatch this game, you and I, but the good thing is it only happened a couple hours ago, so maybe it's still pretty fresh here in our minds, but a difficult loss in so many ways for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I was able to actually go back through the TV tape at least once, not with a fine-tooth comb, but gloom, despair, and agony on me. You know, we talked about what this thing would look like if the Steelers lost, and we said, but it probably had turned the football over a couple times, and CD Lamb probably went wild in this game. I think those are the two things that we kind of agreed on. Well, CD Lamb had 5 catches for 62 yards. That's not crushing. No touchdowns involved in that. And you throw out the final play of the game, which why wouldn't you? It's trying to make a miracle happen, and obviously a turnover there. The Steelers technically didn't turn the football over in during the meat of the game there. So creating kind of a different way to lose, if you will, and it's just here's the thing, and I wondered if we should it'd be fun to kind of do this or not fun. They were one play away from winning this game, and actually really 2 plays plays away from winning the game. The ball on the ground after the Landon Roberts hit down there at the goal line. If you jump on that, ball game's over, right?
Right.
And then if you get the stop on 4th down at the end in the game, ball game's over. Let's talk like as if this was a win of how we would still think about the team. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, I'm down.
Because it still shouldn't change, right? Except for 2 plays or 1 play
Sure.
at the end of the game.
Had they won, had they made one of those stops that you referenced, this becomes classic Steelers, as you love to say, the rock fights that they get into and they win, 17-13. In that instance, had Dallas not scored, there would have been a very classic, quintessential Pittsburgh Steelers game.
How many times can you keep going in and doing this? You keep saying, Mike Tomlin likes to say, we keep kicking our own butts. Well, how about just stop kicking your own butts? I know that sounds simpler than what it is, but it's the same thing it seems like every week here, talking about the same little things. Now, once again, obviously they at least they didn't turn the football over until late, but this game really shouldn't have been as close as what it was on the scoreboard because credit to the Steelers defense forcing turnovers and getting a blocked field goal down there, but boy, the Cowboys would have had plenty of reasons to kick themselves had they lost this game as well too, for going through the woes that they had and turnovers that they had, especially down deep in the red zone there. So I don't know, where do you want to start with this thing, because it's a mess all over the place.
It is. I mean, just on paper, Dallas turned the ball over 3 times. They had 11 penalties.
You're supposed to win those, when you get 3 takeaways, you're supposed to win those.
Yeah, Pittsburgh was in position. 2 red zone takeaways, a blocked field goal, 3 turnovers, takeaways overall for Pittsburgh's defense. Dallas had 11 penalties, and Pittsburgh finds a way to lose. And in their history, I know it's very specific, but whenever the Pittsburgh Steelers force 3 takeaways, whenever the opposition has 11 penalties, and whenever Pittsburgh holds themselves to 1 or fewer turnovers themselves, and as you said, that 1 turnover came on that final play, really doesn't count, but will count it anyway. Pittsburgh has never lost under those circumstances until Sunday night / Monday morning when that game wrapped up at exactly basically 1 a.m. Eastern time. So it is truly a new way for the Pittsburgh Steelers to lose, but in some ways it is still the old ways of how the Pittsburgh Steelers lose, with an offense that can't score and a team that can't put the opposition away.
Yeah, so much for fast starts, right? 3 points in the first quarter. How many points now do they have in the first quarter of games?
I think it's 13. Numbers are running together, but I believe they have 13 points in the first quarter, if memory serves.
And not only that, they only had 3 points in the entire first half of this game. I don't think they had any explosive plays in the first half. I'm trying to remember. And they obviously on third downs, they were not great early in the game. While Dallas, on the other hand, we talked about coming out of that Colts game, how they couldn't stop the Colts on third down. Boy, Dallas 9 of 15 in this game, and 2 of those touchdown drives that the Cowboys had in the second half came on possessions that just felt like they were taking forever. 16 plays and 15 plays. Respectively, and those 2 touchdown drives were sandwiched or on the outside, the pieces of bread between the meat of the interception that the Steelers had, and thankfully the Steelers were able to capitalize on that, go down and get a touchdown off of that. But Dallas shot themselves in the foot earlier in this game in the red zone, and to some degree, Steelers credit by getting some takeaways within there, but they just could not move the football at all. They, I think props to them. At least they did a good job of tendency breaking in the first half. What did we talk about the other day, Alex, about first down and drop back 1st and 10 situations and drop backs? They got away from that, but even early they tried that H leak to Connor Hayward down the left side, and you gotta make those plays.
Mm-hmm. It's there.
I mean, that was there to make. I mean, yeah, he had to dive out to get it, but I mean, that ball was placed well enough that NFL players are supposed to make that catch, and Connor Hayward could not make that catch there. And from there on out, they weren't, when they threw the football down the field. It was either going through guys' hands, or they couldn't make the contested catch, or on the seam ball to Darnell Washington. That thing probably just a little bit hot and too flat. Justin Fields came away from this game with a average completed air yard distance of 4.2 yards.
Not great, Bob, as you like to say. I'll steal your line here for a second. Yeah, I think what it comes down to offensively, Pittsburgh lost out in every kind of contested 50-50 situation, not in the sense of all true like fade balls, but just in the sense of got a chance to make a play. Who's going to make the play? The offense or the defense? And Dallas's defense routinely made those plays in the past game. I think about the leak play that you mentioned to Hayward, which wasn't influenced by Dallas at all. Obviously, it was a great play call. It worked the way they drew it up, just couldn't finish, regardless of whether you want to put that on Hayward or Fields. I put that more on Hayward than Fields, but either way, play didn't happen. Talk about Pickens let one through his hands on 3rd and 4. You got to make that catch. That was a huge play of the game after the blocked field goal. Talk about Van Jefferson, some missed opportunities downfield. Hayward had a 3rd down, was kind of scrambled that he got punched out. I think Pittsburgh converted after that, but still missed opportunities there. So, there really weren't any situations where Pittsburgh's offense was making the more difficult, contested, got to have a type of play. And then defensively, it goes back to the weighty downs. And I was so surprised, Dave, that last week, Mike Tomlin talked so little about the 3rd down failures the Pittsburgh's defense had against the Colts. When the Colts were 8 of 15, they were 6 of 10 on 3rd and 6+. That was, to me, a huge component of the game, and they got very little lip service publicly. I don't know what happened behind closed doors. I'm sure they acknowledged it was a problem, but they seemed to kind of chalk it up to a blip, and it was no blip. It continued into this game. The last 2 weeks, Dallas and Indy, they're 17 of 30 on 3rd down. That's 56%. That number were to be extrapolated out over a season. That's easily the worst in football. Dallas was 3-6 on 3rd and 6+ in this game. They hit big plays on 3rd downs of all varieties. They had a 27-yard gain to CeeDee Lamb. They had a 34-yard gain, had a 48-yard gain on 3rd down. So Pittsburgh has a really, really big 3rd down problem. They're getting teams into 3rd down. They're getting teams into 3rd and long, where in theory Pittsburgh's defense should eat, and instead they're getting eaten up.
Yeah, whether it be by penalty or big play, or they're not getting off the field in those key situations there, and obviously that played huge once again in those two touchdown drives there. Look, I don't want to take I don't believe in the whole trap game thing in the NFL, and I've explained that several times, over the years here. But this is a Cowboys team that obviously was without two very good defensive players in DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. They had a beat up secondary going into this game as well too. They lost one of their guys, kneeling early. The replacement guys kneeling early in this game. They lost their starting left tackle. Did he go back in or no? I don't think he did.
I don't believe Guyton went back in.
Guyton. They lost him during the game, and then Zach Martin. I don't know if Zach Martin came back in or not.
He did.
Okay. But they did lose him for a piece of the game. Especially when it came to that Cowboys defense. I expected the Steelers offense to have more success and be able to move the football on them. They came out. We talked about the zone reads and read options and stuff like that. They come out and had that early. I thought maybe we'd see that spammed throughout there, but really saw very little of that. And they could not move the football, especially not in chunks. And you had had that one series with a couple nearly back-to-back false starts in it. And then you're only converting 3 of 12 on 3rd downs, and you got an offense that struggles to produce chunk plays. And then you've got decisions to run pin and pull toss on 3rd and 8. Early in this game, that's definitely a choice. Instead of trying to push for the chains, you almost feel like you're okay settling for the field goal in that situation, and that's just on offense.
Although, heck, Dallas ran a toss play on their 3rd and 6, and they converted. So it just felt like things went Dallas's way. They executed better. That's why things went their way. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, I mean, this one, Dallas's defense was beat up. They hadn't been playing great throughout the season. And the most alarming thing is that Pittsburgh continues to be unable to run the football. They ran the ball 26 times. They averaged 3.5 yards per carry. Their longest run was 8 yards. That was by Fields. Najee Harris, 14 carries. His longest run was 6. That he ran hard, but there was no explosion. I mean, did Harris get past the second level once in this game? I don't think so. So the line did not get a great push, but we know that Najee Harris is not going to be a guy that's going to make those explosive plays. He's going to barrel ahead. He's going to fall forward. He's going to get some tough yards. Sure. I thought he ran better overall in this game than the Colts game, that there were a little bit more lanes than the Colts game. It's a little more to clear, but yeah, I mean, your run game's not explosive. Your offense as a whole, it's not explosive. Your longest play from scrimmage in this game was 21 yards. Joe Flacco had a 21-yard run for the Colts yesterday. So, I mean, it's just you're on Flacco speed right now, and that's not good enough. If you're a team, what I sum up the offense as to try to make my thoughts concise is, if you're an offense, you got to be one of two things. You got to be rhythmic and flow, where you can kind of consistently move the ball with fluidity and ease, or you got to be a big chunk play offense that maybe isn't super rhythmic, but you're explosive and you get the big play that helps flip the field and takes away some of the need to be super rhythmic. And Pittsburgh, of course, right now is neither of those things. So I thought the most telling thing of all, I'm kind of bouncing around here, I apologize, but Justin Fields post-game was asked, what is the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Right? He was asked, do the Steelers have an identity? And he said yes. And I need to pull the transcript for the exact answer, but he was asked about what is that identity? And he could not answer it. He kind of just went on a kind of rambling, meandering comment about never really heard of teams having an identity, but he says they have one. He just isn't sure what it is. And it was just, I know it doesn't matter. It's a post-game press conference after a loss. It's just question and answer, but it just kind of really sums up where this offense is at.
Yeah, that was painful to watch him having to go through that 2-question segment there because he, just give something short and sweet. Say we're a physical team, or we like to run the football. You can't tell me that's the first time that he's ever heard been asked about identity, or I guess it was the way the answer was. I guess it maybe was the first time he was asked about it.
Yeah, I'll read the quote here. He says, I think we have our identity. Then asked what it is, he says, quote, what are the identity options in football? I've never heard of a team having an identity. I think we have an identity. I just don't know what it is. I never heard necessarily an option for an identity. I think we ran the ball well today. Like I said, I think we just missed shots and shot ourselves in the foot again. So I don't think we're one of those teams looking for an identity. I think we know who we are. We're a team that predicates on running the football and staying on schedule on first and second down and then executing on third down. But we just didn't get the job done. So I don't know the words to necessarily label the identity, but those are some intangibles and characteristics of who we are as an offense, end quote. So the end has kind of an answer there, but kind of felt Fields fumbling for that. And yeah, the identity is supposedly Pittsburgh being physical, running the ball, staying on schedule, possessing the clock, shortening the game, play action off of that, taking some one-on-one shots on the outside vertically with George Pickens. But those things really aren't coming together. Pittsburgh, terrible on third down, not getting big plays down the field to George Pickens.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other elephant in the room is the Pickens snap counts and Mike Tomlin's answer to that question.
Yeah, what's your interpretation of Pickens' usage in this game and the snap counts? I think you have some of the numbers. I think he had 34 of 48 snaps, I believe is what you had posted. Didn't play as much as other receivers in this one, especially early. Mike Tomlin post-game saying it was just trying to keep Pickens fresh. It's not an underlying story. Don't look for one as Tomlin's comments, and I can kind of see where your reaction is. So feel free to take it from here.
Let's see, 34 of 58 offensive snaps. He was asked, George Pickens wasn't one of your higher snap players on offense. There was a whole series where he was on the bench in the second half. What went into that? Mike Tomlin said, we just wanted to kind of minimize his reps in an effort to get more productivity. We're just trying to rep manage in terms of the totality of the big picture. He wasn't less of a focal point in terms of our intentions of what we wanted to do offensively, but we did want to cut his reps a little bit in an effort to get higher quality play just in general. And then he was asked, was he not playing up to the quality that you wanted from him? He says it's no different than we minimize some of the snaps of D linemen like Cam Hayward and so forth. It is just about snap management. It's no underlying story, to be quite honest with you. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just don't remember Antonio Brown having his snaps managed to help increase his productivity.
Yeah, there was no snap management with AB. I mean, I don't know. To be honest, I'm not as alarmed maybe as others. This has kind of happened throughout the season to some maybe lesser degree, but I think in, say, the opener against Atlanta, I think like Van Jefferson outsnapped George Pickens, I believe. And so you've had some of this go on throughout the year. It was probably a little more noticeable in this Cowboys game. My bigger concern is Pittsburgh's inability to kind of find ways to get Pickens to football early. I think in the first half, he had 2 targets and 1 catch, and one of those targets was on a third down kind of scramble drill where Fields missed firing with underneath and tried to hit Pickens long, incomplete. Pittsburgh's not finding ways to get Pickens the ball early. They're not scheming things up for him. They're not trying to get the ball into the hands of their best weapon offensively in the pass game. And then Pickens is also not making plays that are there. Again, I go back to that 3rd and 4 drop after the blocked field goal, where Pittsburgh gets a big screen on first down, 20 yards. They're rolling. They're at midfield. Can really kind of, swing points in their favor in this one. And it's a little high, but Pickens has to make that play, and he doesn't. So my concern is more about schematically what happens when Pickens is on the field and his own play, to me, more so than the snap counts themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing too if you had a better complement of receivers when he's off the field, but when he's off the field, he cannot make a play when he's off the field. I came up with that one all by myself. I figured that one out all by myself, that he cannot produce when he's not on the field. And okay, you want to limit his snaps, okay? But I mean, are we talking? Let's see, 34 times 2 would be 68. So obviously, just on the field, what is it? What do I have the percentage on that at total? I mean,
of the snaps he played?
Yeah, the snaps.
That's like 58.6%. It's looking like.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you want to limit him? Do you really want to limit him that much?
Right.
Let's see.
Sure.
What is it? 59%. Yeah, 59%. 34-58.
Let's see what it was for some of the other games this year in terms of the percentage of snaps where that stacks up.
How about limit Van Jefferson's snaps? So the 47, sure. He played 47 of 58.
Yeah, but I think they had the same number of receptions and catches. I think they had identical stat lines in this one. But yeah, Pickens week 1, 68%, 77%, 74%, 86% against the Colts, and 59% against Dallas. And so that's obviously a season low in terms of percentage of snaps, also in terms of raw number of snaps overall. And it's not like they were out there for 85 plays where like you're winded and you're tired on some of these long drives. So it'll take some more investigation. How many of those will run plays? Sometimes you have some run packages out there. They have some 13 personnel where you get some other receivers involved. So is it a discussion? Sure. Do I think there really is a big story there? I honestly don't. And to me, the bigger concern is just about they can't scheme him up early to get him the football. And Pickens also missing some plays out there as well. To me, it's the bigger problem than the actual snap counts.
He can't be happy after that game. Did you even see any sound bites from him or quotes from him?
I imagine he did not speak to the media. I did check his Instagram because we live in that world now, and there was nothing that I saw posted. He had a story of Joey Porter Sr. excited about Porter Jr.'s interception. So at least there isn't any drama on that front yet, anyway.
What do you think about the end of the game there?
In terms of the offense, the defense.
No, with Pickens and the grabbing of the face mask.
Yeah, it was a fine coming for that one. He's frustrated. Can't do it. It's not a good look, obviously. You got Jordan Lewis chirping you after the game, as he should. They won. To the victor goes to spoils. But yeah, just frustration for this whole team.
All right. What else on Elise? And once again, we're going through the TV tape once and watching 7 plays on all 22 isn't going to produce a lot of great analysis. But any other overarching thoughts on offense? It looked like just from surface level, I felt like Mason McCormick played a pretty good game at right guard. Isaac Seumalo obviously run over on one of those sacks that they almost lost a fumble on. I thought Dan Moore had an up and down game. I thought he did a good job on one of those snatching traps on the screen over. Was that the screenplay over to the left side or a dump off to Najee over to the left side? That might have been, and that was one of their biggest plays of the game. I think explosive plays, play wise there. Trying to think what else sticks out in my head here offensively.
Well, what's your take on Justin Fields? I'm not, and I have not watched the game back at all, so that's going to require me doing that obviously for Wednesday's show. But what is your interpretation of his performance? Russell Wilson, the broadcast seemed to be indicating he basically would be healthy for this week 6 game. Is there a quarterback decision to make here, Dave?
Well, I mean, you look at the raw stats, and then you take into account how many maybe of those contested throws could have had. How do you grade that first throw, that H leak throw to Connor Hayward? I mean, you got to have that. I mean, you can't, obviously, like we said a couple of weeks ago, you can't sit here and go through and cherry pick them all. But the fact of the matter that you're talking about a completed air yard distance of under 5 yards in this game. Just the consistent slow starts in this, the inability to consistently push the football down the field. He did not technically turn the football over. I mean, did they put that fumble on him or
No? I think it was the sign that Freiermuth, maybe.
Yeah, probably Freiermuth gets it. I mean, I know he's not turning the football over. Here's the thing. I mean, once again, how 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 much different is this going to look like with Russell Wilson, and will Russell Wilson be able to do things that you were asking Fields to do? Short answer is it can't hurt, but I'm not sure how much it helps overall. They're not starting fast enough. They're not creating enough explosive plays. But we talked even before the season started, Alex, even back when we thought Russell Wilson was going to be the starting quarterback of this team. We thought this was probably going to be an offense that tries to run, tries to establish a run, put their defense out there, keep the score down, and win games that way. I don't really see how much it's going to change. Hopefully I'm wrong, or maybe I'll be wrong if they switch. If Russell Wilson's out there, what's the right decision here? I have not gone through fine-tooth comb with Fields yet to see what throws he maybe missed and passed up, and things along those lines. My gut feeling is even so that I'm not sure he's done enough to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how much more confident are you that Russell Wilson can give you things that you're not getting out of Fields, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair debate, and Tuesday's presser with Mike Tomlin should be really interesting to see where he comes in, what the language is, what the posture is on Wilson's health, on the quarterback situation. He was not asked about it after the game, and not that he would give you an answer, but just for clarity's sake. My stance is, and again, I got to go back and watch this through. I think the play in some regards for Fields has been weaker, but there hasn't been much supporting him the last 2 weeks. You know,
I mean, you're trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you don't have. Look at your personnel, man. I mean,
yeah.
And once again, I haven't. We'll see what the all 22 says on it. It felt overall the line was okay. Especially in pass protection, and even though the running game wasn't fantastic and you didn't have huge runs overall, it felt, at least from some TV angles and a couple of the all 22 that I watched, that some things were blocked up okay.
Yeah, but it's got to be more than okay for this team. That, as you said, they hung their hat on a team that was able to run the football, and that was their whole vision of being able to win the line of scrimmage. And okay is not good enough against a Dallas team that's been so poor against the run.
Well, we know Najee Harris is not going to be one that's going to bust off a bunch of 20-yard runs in a game, and you're obviously without Jaylen Warren and now Cordell Patterson, the other guy that's busted a couple of them. So you didn't have those two guys in this game.
But you need more than 3 yards per carry out of Najee Harris.
Sure. I mean, you need more yardage on the ground, but I mean, they also probably should have done more with the design run game with Fields too, to be honest with you.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Like you said, they did it early, and I mean, they kind of sprinkled in, had some quarterback power in this game. Just to go back to Fields, my commentary is that, I make these quarterback changes when I feel compelled to make a change. Going into week one, going into the summer, Russ was in pole position, QB1. I didn't think Fields did enough to compel me to make a change. I'm kind of in the inverse of that, where I haven't felt compelled enough to bench Justin Fields and to put Wilson back in. So bottom line is for me, I would lean towards sticking with Justin Fields. I do think what he can offer in the run game is important, considering how bad this rushing attack standalone has been, and how much they're keying in on stopping the run as it is. If you put Wilson in, they can key in on the backs even more. The threat of the zone read, design quarterback run game goes away. I hate to be a little too focused on the run game element when it comes to quarterback. Quarterback play is so much more than just who runs the ball better, who scrambles better, and all that kind of stuff. But it is an important element considering how poor Pittsburgh has been being able to run the ball, quote unquote, traditionally with the running backs. And there's an element and a threat there with Fields that is important. So for me, again, not watching it back, and I think Fields certainly has made some more errors, hasn't seen things as cleanly the last two games, but I don't feel compelled to make a change, and so I would not make a change.
Well, yeah, I think you hit on some key things, and that's kind of the way I was leaning. I'm not sure, you'd have to make a compelling argument of what you think Wilson can bring to this offense that would make it better other than maybe pushing the football down the field, because you're not going to, even though he might take off and run with it once or twice on a scramble or something, you're taking, the zone read element out of it, because you're not going to spam that with him at his age,
Mm-hmm.
How much, as you said, you probably even going to hurt your running game to some degree because of that, not having that as an option there. Both of them can throw the football down the field. You do kind of wonder if the same mantra might be, don't turn the football over, don't make a mistake. But I'll tell you this, Russell Wilson probably be more of, you only live, going YOLO a little bit more often. Now, if Russell Wilson's put in here, will he be able to decipher things probably better pre-snap than Justin Fields, having seen more stuff over the years? I think the obvious answer is yes. There. But with some of the personnel that they have, and let's assume that you don't have Warren and Patterson for this next game, and not that Michael Pruitt brings a lot to your offense, but he is a better blocker to some degree. How much really is things going to change if you put him under center?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Obviously, we can't give you a perfect answer to it. But for me, whenever things are kind of a jump ball 50-50, I stay. Whatever if I don't feel pulled to, okay, I'm confident this is the change that should be made, the right decision for the team, then I'll stick with what I have until I have that feeling of feeling obligated and compelled to make a change. So
what has been Justin Fields' biggest sin so far through 5 games? What has been the most unappetizing thing about Justin Fields through five games?
I mean, I don't know if it's specifically on him. It's not 100% on him, but it's just scoreboard. This team is not scoring points at a higher clip, and the quarterback's job is to put points on the board, no matter how that occurs. And they're averaging, I don't know what they're averaging, probably about 17 points per game this season, and that's where they ended last year. And you're not seeing a change.
Right. Okay. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, it's been the whole center quarterback exchange is probably just the most unappetizing things, right? And then I forgot to go look and see on that sack. I think you thought maybe he got stepped on at one point in the drop back.
Well, I only say that on same model because usually when a lineman is like looking that bad, that often means somebody stepped on his foot. I only got like a brief look at the half replay. They should. I don't think that happened. I don't think, looking back at the replay, I don't think he stepped on Frazier's foot. Say all loose. I think he just got run the heck over on that one. For Fields, in terms of like specifically on him, besides the snap exchanges, which thankfully we're clean in this one, being at home certainly helps. Not working on a silent count. I think just missing some reads, not always seeing the field cleanly, and not being a great anticipatory thrower. I don't think he's really shown that. I think he's read it whenever it's been open. I don't know if he's really throwing guys open necessarily, though. So, not that it's the biggest knock in the world. I'm not trying to kill the guy for it, but I would say that I've not really seen that on his tape thus far.
All right. What would make you more compelled for Russell Wilson to be the starting quarterback in this next game?
Probably more negativity from Fields. I do think he's overall protected the football. That would be the driving reason to change to Wilson.
More risk, but possible more reward.
Well, I was going to ask you, is Pittsburgh's model the correct one? Obviously, they're playing very conservatively. And as you said, the whole mantra is take care of the football, don't turn it over, trust our defense, let's win 10-7. Is that the right model? Or should Pittsburgh take and accept more risk and have more negative outcomes in the pursuit of more positive outcomes?
If the defense is going to play like they played in the last two games, I mean, even though they only gave up 20 points is too many. It doesn't. It feels like once a team cracks 17, it feels like once a team cracks 16, it might be too many points to overcome. But I mean, it also does feel like that's the way, and that's the way we said before the season started. Mike Tomlin's probably going to the way this team's probably going to try to win games regardless, because they just don't have over the top talent across the line, and especially at the skill positions on offense. And if you just change out, the quarterback and you change out to a quarterback that is going to eliminate quarterback run from it, is what he gives you with the ability to read defenses and maybe more anticipatory throws, enough to offset losing the quarterback run game element of it on offense.
Losing my train of thought here. Sorry. Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought of what I was going to respond to on this one. Yeah,
what I'm saying is it worth losing the quarterback run element to maybe have more have Russell Wilson the ability to maybe see things, put the ball in better, maybe a couple of different better spots. But once again, you roll back to that H leak early in the game. That ball was put in a good position where Connor Hayward's got to come down with it. There's a throw over to the left that I'm interested to see if I can get a better shot of that. But it seemed like that went through Pickens' hands, right?
I'm sorry, which play, the third and four?
The third down one over on the left side.
Yeah, no, it did. It was a little high, but it's a play that he's got to make 100%. So yeah, that to me is one of those hidden plays, like the Hayward not finishing the sack on Flacco last week to led to a third down conversion. Like that was a hidden play where Pittsburgh, they get the blocked field goal, they get a first down screen to Harris, which is a great play. You're at the 47, you're on 3rd and 4. And that ball goes through Pickens' hands. Had you caught that one, you got first down. You're on the cusp of field goal range. You could swing that one, at least a 6-point swing. You take 3 points off Dallas's board. You put at least 3 on your own. It would have made it 13-6. Huge play there. Got to make that play. No excuse.
All right. Then what about the throw down the right side to Van Jefferson? Kind of a contested one. I thought he should have had.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those plays where, who's going to win that one? Who's going to make the play? And the theme of the game was that Pittsburgh could not make the contested plays, and Dallas made some of those more difficult contested plays. And that's what it came down to in this one. What I was going to say earlier when I lost my train of thought was, and I'm just venting here a little bit, like all of you guys here on this Monday, where I'm sure everyone is called off sick and everyone trying to make it through the day, myself included. It's just frustrating that no matter all the pieces that change, new quarterbacks, new offensive coordinator, new offensive lineman, new approach, all that kind of stuff. No matter all the different phases for the offense, the results have been the same for like 3-4 seasons, more than that really, since 2019. Ben's year that he got hurt, but put that aside. This decade, the offense has just been the same, middling at best and pretty bad at worst. Offense, and it's hard to believe this team can make so many changes and have the results be the exact same. But it may come down to the philosophy of how conservative this team is.
Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and explain away the whole Justin Fields throws in there. I'm just pointing out that there were throws that he made that could have been more difference makers in this one. And then again, there were bad throws. The other one to Jefferson down the other side should have been picked. On that one earlier in the game down the right hand side. So it wasn't all perfect. I just wonder if you just if just the level of crap smells different. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's still poop, but it might just smell a little bit different by changing out the quarterback. And then you got the whole thing too is how long has Russell Wilson been out of this offense? And it's not like he took a lot of snaps during the preseason games as well too. Is there going to be a transition of playing with him that you have to go through right out of the chute?
Sure, I'm sure there'd be some of that. He just hasn't gotten a lot of reps in general, dating like the training camp. He's been limited overall, literally, limited throughout practice the entire first 5 weeks of the season and limited throughout most of the summer and training camp and preseason. So it's interesting the way the broadcast talked about it, because they do all those pre-production meetings with Tomlin and Russ, and their language was indicating that Russ would come back and be the starter at some point this week 6 or week 7. We'll have to see what Mike Tomlin has to say, but the language in terms of, Russ ready to get back out there. Tomlin said maybe he'd go to Russ if things were more dire. Just the language and tone was suggesting that, Russ will start whenever he's fully cleared.
We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, Tuesday will be an important day in that. So any other thoughts for the offense? I would just say, and you've touched on it, Dave, but 3-12 on third down. And I mean, their model in this game was to play for third and short. How many 3rd and 1s did they have in this game? A ton. I don't know what their conversion was. They were 2-2 of fourth down. So I think they missed some of those 3rd and short situations. But yeah, I mean, the bottom line is to me, Pittsburgh 3-12 on third down offensively. Dallas 9-15 on third down offensively for them. It's just really bad on those weighty possession downs.
Yep.
All right, defensively in this one, we know the value that TJ Watt has when he's not out there, how much this defense wilts, but you really felt the attrition. And once Nick Herbig went down with a hamstring injury, did not return, it really felt like the tide changed where Pittsburgh was running out of people and able bodies. Marvin Leal injured as well, and Pittsburgh really wore down late.
Yeah, look, we said going into this game that thought maybe Nick Herbig could eat in this one, right?
And he was early.
And he was. Thought he got off to a great start. I was really looking forward to seeing, maybe if he could continue to make plays in this one, especially after they had lost Guyton, because they pretty much lost Guyton because I think Herbig put him in the blender. I had to go back and look at that specifically on that on that injury there. Yeah, and TJ Watt did what TJ Watt could do, but it was a big loss once Herbig left the game. Overall, he definitely made a difference when he was in there, and I thought he did some decent things in against the run as well too in the first half of this game. More miscommunication on defense. I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Even what was it, the second or third play over there to the right hand side? Landon Roberts is looking at TJ Watt lined up inside. Landon Roberts looking around like something's not right here,
Yeah.
And instead of obviously calling a timeout and whatnot, they give up an easy completion over to the right side. You had another communication issue. Looked like Beanie Bishop was involved with at least a couple of them within there. That kind of stuff. And look, I understand Beanie Bishop's a young player, and I understand Peyton Wilson gets some snaps within this defense and all like that. But for the most part, you got some experienced players over there overall. You can't keep coming out of games saying, yeah, we got to clean that up. We need to get better at it. You turn around and next week and do the same thing, especially on the quote unquote kind of weighty downs. And once again, I thought the Cowboys left some plays out there, and I thought Dak gave them a couple of gifts in this one as well too, or else it could have been worse.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh was getting big red zone stops early. They were bending and not breaking and turning Dallas away, which was huge for this game. and they couldn't keep that up late. Dallas gets 2 touchdown drives. Like they had, their final 2 drives were 15 plays and 16 plays, and Pittsburgh couldn't get to stop. They were definitely wearing down. Dallas had 75 total plays in this one. Pittsburgh was down to 2 available outside backers at the end, and Jeremiah Moon, his first game back from IR, so wonder what his conditioning level was like, and TJ Watt, who Dallas could turn their entire attention to and take him away, and they did. At the end of this game, he had an impact earlier in this game, and we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Pittsburgh just got worn down, couldn't make the stops late, and Dallas won on those weighty downs, 9 of 15 on third down, like I mentioned, 1 of 1 on fourth down, which was, of course, the biggest play of all, the 4-yard touchdown to take the lead with 20 seconds left. That was a great concept. Dak had some time, and those guys made the tight plays.
Is it good or is it bad that it came down to one play? And then once again, rolling back to the way we kind of open up, would we have the same? Because if we have angst in our voice, right?
I have lack of sleep in my voice, but probably some angst in there too.
Right. I mean, how would our tone be in this had they jumped on a loose football at the end or got to stop on fourth down? It wouldn't be the same as much as we tried, as much as we try to reverse engineer this, and as objective as we try to be. If we're talking about a win, do we have the same amount of angst? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I do. I mean, obviously, we're all a little reactive to it, and
plus I'm tired, and you're tired. And,
yeah, well, if you win, you're 4-1, and you're top the AFC North. Now you're 3-2. The Ravens technically now have the lead. So the first time this year, Pittsburgh has not been in the lead of the AFC North. Not that it matters a lot here in week number 5, but it's a win that you wanted to have. So yeah, you would have felt, life would have been better to stay up that late. You and I were up past 4 a.m. Eastern time working and writing after this game. So it's always more fun to do those in victories than losses. But, you still would have highlighted a lot of the concerns in this one. We still would have been talking about the weighty downs and the lack of a run game. Those things wouldn't have gone away. They could have just been able to package that in a nicer, wrapping as opposed to a loss.
Yeah, I think I'd feel a little bit better had the defense, played a lot better in this one. But I mean, now that's 2 games in a row, and once again, we when we went into the weekend, you ended things saying what if the Steelers lost this one, what would it look like? And I was pretty definitive. I thought it would be turnovers on offense and CD Lamb kind of going off of them, and really neither one of those 2 things happened, and they still lost the game.
Yeah, which maybe makes it all the more frustrating and concerning to lose in a different fashion than what you expected. It's just frustrating because you trust your defense, you put them out there on the field, and you're hoping for a bounce back performance from a communication standpoint, third down standpoint, and you didn't get those things, and that is frustrating and a little concerning. I mean, Pittsburgh's MO, and it's been that for years, and they've always done a good job of that, is take away your best player, make the other guys make plays. And for Dallas, the other guys made plays, whether that was Tolbert or Ferguson, or I forget some of the other receivers. Brooks, I think, got involved in this one, just looking at the box score. Turpin, those kinds of guys. So, those guys beat you. And Pittsburgh's plan was for those guys to be challenged and make those guys win. And Dallas, those guys won.
Dowdle had 87 yards on the ground on 20 carries. Dowdle had 2 catches for 27 yards. So he had over 100 yards of total offense. What round was he drafted in?
Was he even a draft pick?
I'm setting you up there.
Yeah, I mean, is that the answer? He was undrafted.
Fungible. And this is a team that knew they had to come out and shut down the run here in this one. Alex, if I had to ask you who was the Steelers' best offensive player Sunday night, who was it?
That's a tough answer.
Skill position, obviously.
Skill. I mean, well, I was probably going to choose a lineman. Probably going to choose Moore or something.
I'm going to make you choose a skill position. Who was the Steelers' best skill position player in this game?
I don't really even know, to be honest. Connor, maybe. I mean, that, Wiley missed out on, but had a touchdown.
But you got to make the play there.
Yeah, I'm just bouncing through names
I mean,
right
it had
now.
to be Justin Fields, though, right? Technically.
Well, when I think skill, I always think of just like receivers and tight ends. I mean, I guess quarterbacks certainly do apply. Yeah, I don't know, Pat Fields. Yeah, I mean, it's not. You're struggling to find a good answer though.
All right, now listen. I could obviously sit here and listen to an argument for somebody to say they've got to get Russell Wilson in here under center and yank Justin Fields. But my rebuttal is, okay. Tell me, other than just changing, why what should be expected of why it would be better.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like I said, I mean, that's why ultimately I'm leaning towards sticking with Fields is to because I'm lacking that big compelling reason to make a change. How about Kyle Allen? Great throw on his lone attempt, firing that one down to Pat Freiermuth. It's funny that Freiermuth's 19 of his 22 yards in this game came from one Kyle Allen.
Yeah, start Kyle Allen.
We're kidding. Someone's gonna clip that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Just a mess. Just a mess. I mean, Pickens comes out of this with 7 targets, 3 catches for 26 yards on diminished snaps. Najee's your leading receiver at 35 yards. You had 2 explosive plays in this one, correct?
And the longest was 21 yards. So it's 20-yard screen to Harris, 21-yard reception to Pickens, which I think was on the personal foul, I believe.
All right. And defense, miscommunication, can't get off the field on 3rd down. Obviously had a couple of nice takeaways, took the football away 3 times in total, but it comes down to a couple plays there at the end of the game and on the wrong side of them.
Yeah, defensively they wore down. They ran out of people. Their front was getting more attrition. It was like what Pittsburgh did to the Chargers in week 3, Dallas did to Pittsburgh, where they were able to win late and have some great drives. I misspoke earlier. It was 2 of their last 3 possessions were 15 plus. They had their 3rd quarter possession for like 15 plays, and they had their pick. The Dallas did, and then they had a 16 play, I think, drive to close that one out. So, but anyway, long drives at the end wore Pittsburgh down, lack of pass rush, allowing them to really focus in on TJ Watt. Played a big factor in this one. Weighty downs. I just thought on some of those 3rd down situations, Pittsburgh played a lot of too high. Some of that, trying to keep lid on things, trying to bracket Lamb probably more efficiently, but Dak did a great job of using vertical concepts to really stress safeties and put Minka in a bind. Really had Minka unsure where to go, limited his impact in the pass game, and some underneath guys and some slot guys struggled. Edmonds on the one, Beanie on the other. Some of those big plays down the middle of the field that
that was the old 9-8-9 concept, wasn't it? To Tolbert down the middle against cover 2, and Beanie just running down the driveway chasing them.
Yeah, way far behind on that. Yeah, just 2 vertical outside routes, a seam route, and kind of go where they aren't on that one. But I thought Pittsburgh's too high was ineffective in this one, and Dak hit those hole shots and hit the seam balls, and they got some big plays off of that on 3rd down. It's not just convert, but convert on significant gains.
Did you see Dallas do anything extraordinary that we hadn't seen in the 3 games that we watched beforehand?
No, I mean, I don't want to sound like that guy, but I felt like I had a good feel of the game. And even some stuff I didn't tweet, but I kind of felt like I called out that one toss play they ran, I think on 3rd and short. Pittsburgh knew it was coming. I mean, I saw Queen check to it. Pittsburgh was in tight, and Dak made a check, and Queen fanned out the defense. He read it, shot through the hole, tripped up the back, but the back was able to stay on his feet and pick up the 1st down. I think teams have used tempo well against Pittsburgh. I think watch the Colts in their opening drive in week 4. I thought Dallas had good tempo on some weighty moments. That's kind of their personality. 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s.
And you wrote about that too, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. I talked about Lipke and the potential concern he might be the thorn in the side, that big screen that got them in goal to go situation. So yeah, short answer is, I mean, nothing they did was really surprising. They just did it more effectively.
All right, until we get through the film and all, anything else on both sides of it here?
I should have led, as we usually do. It's just kind of a pregame notes and housekeeping. Inactives. A lot of guys that were hurt didn't play in this one. Warren with a knee, Patterson with the ankle, Pruitt with the knee, Highsmith with the groin. Russell Wilson continued to be the emergency third quarterback. Were you surprised? There was some discussion, some debate with either number 2, number 3. Were you surprised by him being status quo?
No, he was limited all week, and kind of the tone was he didn't, even though he did some 11 on 11 stuff, it sounds like it doesn't sound like he did all that much in totality. And the fact that he was listed limited all 3 days and then ended the week listed as questionable, it made me very easy in my weekly inactive prediction to put him in there as the likely third quarterback in this one, and he obviously was. This was probably the of the 5 games so far. I think there was one other one, either the first or the second one, that was more cut and dry when it came to the inactives. This one to me felt like it was almost a give me is what the inactives would look like, especially had a better feel that Roman Wilson wasn't going to get a helmet, especially on the heels of Brandon Johnson getting elevated on Saturday. That made that one kind of easy. And the other healthy scratch with Sharping. He's the newest kid on the block, and you had a feeling they were only going to dress 8 offensive linemen. So that made him the easy man out there. So, no, I was not shocked at all by the inactive list.
Same. In-game injuries, Herbig with the hamstring and DeMarvin Leal with a stinger. It looked kind of scary. Neither returned in this one. So Pittsburgh losing 2 of their outside linebackers. And Leal, of course, is more of a hybrid type, but that's the role he was largely playing. We'll see their statuses. Herbig with a hamstring. Not looking great from the play in week 6 with how he was slipping off the field.
No, hopefully that changes. We'll see what Mike Tomlin has to say about that on Tuesday. And, obviously we'll see what degree, even if you have Leal, it's not like he's going to play every snap out there. Going to be a lot of onus on Jeremiah Moon, I would think, and then potentially yet another elevation or something. But you do kind of wonder if this might be, if not, it's hard to imagine it not being at least 1 game missed for Herbig. You kind of wonder if it might be 2 or 3 or something like that. And
certainly
the reports seem to be with Highsmith still might be another week or 2 away from coming back from that groin injury. So that will allow teams to even make sure they give more than enough attention to TJ Watt on the other side. So and Herbig, once again, I thought Herbig was playing such a good game, and kind of thought that he might, because of the size differential and his skill set and how Guyton had been beaten so far throughout this thing through the first 4 games, and just unfortunate to lose a player like that on the edge. And that's what did Cam Hayward said? It was tough sledding or whatnot. It's going to be tough sledding if your edges are Leal and Moon across from Watt moving forward, at least into this next game.
Yeah, there's going to be some more workouts, more shuffling, probably more elevations. So there's going to be some work to do there at edge. They're probably going to have to blitz more. They haven't blitzed much this season because they trusted the front 4 to get home, but they're likely going to have to change that. Thought the D-line didn't get a great job getting pressure in terms of the true defensive lineman. Hayward had some power, got a little bit of pressure, but thought Benton was really quiet in this one.
That first snap, he had a nice club and pressure on Dak, but I didn't see too much more past that.
Yeah, going up against a rookie and Cooper Beebe, although I think they moved those guys around. I don't even know if Beebe finished the game at center, if he shifted out. Hayward had a good spin, nice spin move for pressure, but yeah, I thought, just across the board, not as impactful as those guys were earlier in the season. Yeah,
they weren't getting them in third down situations. They just weren't getting them off the field in enough third down situations.
Yeah, same story as the Colts game. They picked on Beanie. They went after Beanie, and he struggled in this one. He made a play or 2, but had multiple penalties, including one on third down. Had a face mask, another earlier flag, and was just kind of really cooked throughout this game. It's a tough game for him. What was I going to say here? I keep losing where I wanted to go. Did you have an issue with Mike Tomlin burning that timeout on the 4th down play before the Tolbert touchdown?
No, because that you got to make sure you try to match it up correctly. You want to try to get in the best situation, because I mean that's the ball game right there.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. If you get to stop there, the game's over. So, and I saw, listen, they came out. You got Lamb on Beanie on that play there, so I didn't like where that one was looking, where that one was going to go. The touchdown itself, I mean, it was just man beater. I think it was just mesh, and Elliott couldn't match it. Elliott 2 touchdowns allowed in this game. Got tripped up with Dowdle on the first one. Tough plays, but Elliott, he gave 2 touchdowns in a 2017 game.
Not a game that Beanie's going to want to remember in the secondary either. Really, the secondary. Joey, what do you think about Joey Porter Jr. early? Just trying, all he was trying to do is punch that football out.
Yeah, that was just a really weak play. I don't know what he's thinking there. He did atone for it. That interception was a great play to match that route, track the football. So I think there was still more good than bad. He didn't seem responsible for any of those, third down plays. Lamb overall was largely a non-factor. Had the big third down catch early. I know they probably rolled coverages, and it was more than Porter taking him away. But overall, you'll hold Lamb in check. So, and I can live with that with Porter. But yeah, that punch out without even a tackle attempt was really pathetic.
All right, special teams. You had Loudermilk on a key field goal block. Good for him. Thought Collinsworth did a good job of highlighting Miles Killebrew early, picking up that free runner to prevent a punt block. What else stood out to you on special teams?
Yeah, those are the big things. Great job by Killebrew, like you said, on the gunner that came in and blitzed. Really heady play there. I thought Waitman punted okay. It did a nice job overall. That was really it.
What do you how about all the scuttlebutt about trades and all like that at this point? We've talked Davante Adams quite a bit. It does sound like if something happens with Davante Adams, that it'll be if it happens this week, it'd be early in the week. Supposedly the Steelers have had some level of interest in this and would have to work through contract situation. I think the narrative is the Raiders want a second and something else, and how it doesn't feel like Davante Adams is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Stranger things have happened, but I don't get the sense that's going to happen. And then on the flip side of things, Diana Rossini talking about George Pickens as a name to watch.
Yeah, that was kind of wild. She mentioned like the Chiefs, which is kind of crazy because Pittsburgh didn't want to trade Deontay Johnson to the Chiefs. I don't know what appetite they would have trading George Pickens to the Chiefs. Despite these less than stellar performances and some of the miscues, I don't expect any of that to actually come to fruition.
All right. Going to be an interesting week to watch the whole Pickens discussion narrative. Mike Tomlin asked again, Mike Tomlin's still trying to be asked maybe about the snaps, and Pickens being asked about the snaps if he talks. So that'll be something certainly worth watching here. Let's see. The players are in today for, I guess, treatment and talk to the media. I think they're off on Tuesday, and then Mike Tomlin press conference on Tuesday. So it's going to be a fast-moving, quite interesting week coming off of back-to-back losses here, especially in the manner that they have happened. And with the whole Russell Wilson thing, will he be named a starter? We'll have a lot to talk about on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. No shortage of storylines. So wrap things up. I don't know if we have any reader emails that isn't just venting. If there's anything that sticks out to you, Dave, feel free, and we can close out today's show.
There's a ton in here. It's just how much do we want to cover? Todd Gentzler. This is too long, Todd. You got to shorten it up, brother. Andrew Gallus, I think it's clear and obvious that Justin Fields is who we thought he was. It has to be time to hand over to Russ. Anything else is Tomlin living in his fears. Just my 2 cents, as I'm sure you addressed this all in the episode. Look, I get it. I could listen to a strong argument of why people would think Russell Wilson needs to be the starting quarterback this week if healthy. The thing there is, though, I wonder if just it's what you lose with what Justin Fields brings to this offense, where can it be made up at? Yeah, it'd be one thing if we're talking about Justin Fields having, 3 or 4 interceptions in this and a lot of bad decisions, that kind of thing. I just wonder if what the outcome's going to look like, and then 3 weeks from now, are we going to be back? Oh, they need to get Justin Fields back in there. We need to see if Justin Fields could be the starting quarterback, moving past this year.
Yeah, you don't want to be this flip-flopping kind of rudderless ship, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I've made my piece about Fields before going through the all 22. Just quickly, Dave, what else? What good was there from this game? Obviously, still a close game. TJ Watt, 100 career sacks, is now up to whatever he's at, 101, whatever the number is, and so second fastest officially in NFL history, only behind the great Reggie White. So hard to enjoy that in a loss, but a great milestone for TJ Watt.
We talked about the Herbig getting off to a good start, seemingly having a good game, and obviously Watt. I mean, I'm stretching to try to find a lot of good to spend 5 minutes on.
But like you said, had they won this game, had they made one of those 2 stops late, I mean, we're talking about, we're a much rosier tone. We're talking about the defense got so many great stops. I mean, they had some really good red zone stops early in this one. So
the Atlanta Roberts hit late was quite awesome. Highlight worthy.
That's like career highlight stuff that's going to be replayed for him ever, always. And that was really cool. I mean, that's classic Landon Roberts, just a dude that's just to be physical, never say die, and just got a bad bounce, unfortunately.
One from Randy in North Carolina about accountability. Deshaun Elliott slipping and falling. I'm not panicking. It's hard to expect your defense to always play perfect, and personally believe that neither Fields nor hypothetical Russell Wilson would have been able to miracle that game into a win in the final seconds. The way the win was going to happen is to get to stop there at the end of the game. That's how the win was going to come out of that one. Yes, Mike Tomlin should have preserved the time out, he says, but I've seen too many times when pass rush doesn't get home and teams throw over the coverage. I'm not going to call for anyone's job. All right, so that's that one there. Russell Mocha writes in, defense forces 3 turnovers, blocks a kick, and we still lose the game. Yeah, Russell, it's hard to overcome that. He says, where have I heard that one before? After last week's game, I was excited to see what the offense could do with Justin Fields. I thought he was a spark the offense needed. Now I'm wondering what Russell Wilson would look like behind center. Tomlin has let the offense take more chances, has to let the offense take more chances to score more points, or we will continue to see this defense get worn down over the course of the season. Also wondering what the third down defense will look like when Cam Sutton can come back. The bad thing about Cam Sutton, you're still several weeks away from that. He says Beanie Bishop is getting picked on way too much. Look, once again, I could listen to an argument for Russ, but you'd have to really be compelling to tell me why you firmly believe, other than just say we need a change. Let's see. Muhammad writes in. No, that's spam there. Xerxes. Tomlin is a good coach whose ego gets in the way of greatness. Every game the Steelers predictably come out to establish the run. Everyone knows it. You must be unpredictable in the NFL. Would it hurt to pass first? Xerxes, like I said, we went into this weekend talking about the Steelers being more of a run first team, especially on first and down situations. I was impressed that there were, at least early on, I think there were three first and 10 situations they threw on. So, I mean, at least I commend them for trying to break some tendencies that way.
Yeah, just hard to open it up when the guys aren't making plays. Like the pass game was working on fire. I mean, it was as painful as the run game was. Maybe slightly less so, but yeah, it just wasn't. You weren't getting the fluidity. Guys weren't making plays, and you're still a sloppy offense. You still got some penalties. You still got some mental mistakes. Guys that aren't finishing contested moments, and so it is hard to open up an offense when you're not kind of able to have the building blocks, not having kind of the trust and let's do fundamental football well, and then we can kind of build upon that. So when you're not not able to play clean and kind of play sound and do your basic things, it's hard to open up the offense. And again, it's not like the pass game was exactly crushing it last night.
He says, why pay Freiermuth $40 million to block 90% of the time? He's a weapon who needs more targets. He said he mauled defenders last night. I thought Freiermuth had a couple of nice, at least from what I remember, a couple of nice blocks in the run game. That was good to see. Let's see. Number 3, take the cape off of Justin Fields. Too much Superman, not enough Clark Kent. Hire Kyle Allen as Fields' internal clock coach and Tomlin's timeout coach. Don't get me started on timeouts, he writes. Let's see if I can get one more quickly in here. Jacob Alleman, who is this team? First time, long time. I remember commiserating with Dave on Twitter after the Super Bowl against the Packers. The more I watch the Steelers team, the more I believe they have a problem with philosophical approach, a flawed premise. We've talked a lot past few seasons about the Steelers wanting their identity to be physical, run-first team, but it hasn't come to fruition outside of second halves of the past 2 seasons. He says, I get this is the approach that the Steelers have chosen to try to win games with, and they've done just enough to justify it by sneaking into the playoffs, but this is at a starting point is not going to allow Pittsburgh to ever blah, blah, blah. Okay. Here's the thing. Yeah. What'd you think about that Ravens-Bengals game, man? Two teams be able to move the football down the field and score points on one another. What did the Steelers can't get in games like that?
No, they can't. They're not going to do that. And I know, it probably wouldn't be that high scoring. Pittsburgh's defense will make enough plays, but even if you got to score 24 points, 27 points to beat the Ravens or the Bengals, how confident are you in Pittsburgh's ability to do that right now? Obviously, I think confidence would be pretty low.
It's one thing when you win the rock fights and then the narrative, the commentary after is, you got us again, Mike Tomlin. You did it again. We keep saying that you can't keep winning these rock fights and you keep winning them, but now you lose a rock fight, and you lose a rock fight once again with winning a turnover battle, and you were one play away on the losing the turnover battle or winning the turnover battle really, substantially, and you one play away, but you lose the rock fight, that way. You almost go into these things thinking, what's the one play at the end we're going to be talking about, right?
Yeah, I just Pittsburgh's not been physical enough. I think. Certainly these last 2 losses, and even in some degree the Chargers game, while Pittsburgh was more physical and wore them down at the end, the Chargers were, I think, more physical team in the first half of that game. And so I know Pittsburgh's had injuries, and listen, we all got injuries. All teams have injuries, but Pittsburgh's supposed to be that tough mudder, and I think they've just not been the physical team the last really 2.5 games.
They lack. Look, the whole reason I picked the Steelers to go, 9-8 before the season was I was worried about the quarterback position. Well, that and then secondary, not having enough weapons at the wide receiver position, just having George Pickens. You just wonder if the offense has enough talent to especially if the defense is going to, not play up to the way they played in those first several games, week in and week out. Makes you kind of wonder how many more games they can win, regardless of who the quarterback is.
Yeah, they got to go add somebody. I mean, I don't want, obviously, you would ideally at least the most talented guys, Devontae Adams, but you got to add another weapon. You can't go this whole season with what they have. If you're not going to get Pickens schemed up more, and if teams will help, start focusing on him and continue to focus on him, I should say, and take him away. You got to if your plan is to make a run, and some people will say blow the whole team up, we'll disregard that for the second. Just if you're gonna try to be competitive and make a playoff run, you got to add a weapon. You can't have this skill group or this current form right now.
All right, next up is the Raiders, and we'll see what happens there. They've got quarterback. They don't know who their quarterback's going to be this next week. I think they had a couple of injuries or two. Obviously, the Steelers have got to go on the road, but I would imagine that's going to feel like a home crowd. in that stadium. Be a lot of Steelers fans there. Mike Tomlin meets the media on Tuesday. By then, we will have had time to go back through the all 22 and talk on that, talk about injuries and all like that. You got anything else to add as we get our loopy butts out of here?
No, wrap things up. Yeah, we'll come back Wednesday. Should be interesting to hear what Mike Tomlin has to say about the quarterback situation and his Tuesday presser at large.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter/X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we're doing, want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you'd like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free, follow the directions that way, and then make sure you hit the login button to get into the ad-free version of the site that way. There, look, send us a very good reason of why you think Russell Wilson should be the starter. Make it a very compelling argument of why Russell Wilson should be the starter over Justin Fields at least this next week, assuming, of course, Russell Wilson is healthy. That you'll be interesting to read some real strong, well thought out arguments on that. All right, Alex, we'll be back on Wednesday here. So as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.